Hello everybody, welcome to my Plan Attack YouTube channel. Today we are going to take a terrible plan and we are going to make it much, much better. This is a 760 square foot or 70 square meter, one bedroom, one bathroom apartment unit in Houston, Texas. Now this has recently been built and it's available for rent, but it happens to be one of the worst design floor plans that I've seen in a while. At first glance you kind of look at it and think, oh, it maybe, makes a little bit of sense of where everything is, but when you look a little deeper, you realize that it is actually really poorly designed. So we're going to break down the plan. We're going to find all the problems first, and then we're going to come up with some ideas and strategies for how to fix it and make it better. So let's start out by just analyzing the plan and finding all the issues and break it down. Starting out with the front door, you walk in the front door and there is a door swing collision between the front door and the coat closet door, and I try to avoid those as much as I can. When we come into the rest of the unit, we are all of a sudden in the kitchen, and that is probably one of the worst things about this design. The kitchen is basically in the entry, and you have to walk through the kitchen to get anywhere else in the unit, and that is a real issue. If you are standing here cooking scrambled eggs and someone else comes home, they're going to have to shimmy on by you to get into the rest of the unit, and that is not good. And I think that leads to one of our other problems, and that is the island location. They've actually pushed the island away from the kitchen, I think, to allow this little bit of shimmy space so that you're not going to bash into the cook when you come into the unit. I don't like how the island is disassociated from the rest of the kitchen, and also you're going to sit on the back side of it here and you're right in front of the mechanical room, which I don't think is a great location. So let's now look at the living room. The living room is a big open space. There's a nice patio door to the balcony, which I think is great. However, the washer dryer location is a problem. The door swing comes into the space. It's going to limit where you can put furniture. If you think about how you're going to lay out this room in terms of furnishings, you're probably going to put your TV here, and you might have a sofa, maybe something like this, two sofas or chairs or something, and that's how you're going to kind of lay that space out. Who wants the laundry right in your view of the television? It's terrible. If you have a laundry hamper, it's going to sit there. It's not going to look good at all. So I think the washer dryer location is a big problem. Now, going into the bedroom and the bathroom area, there's some equally strange things happening here. Now, this bedroom is really big, but when you think about it, when you're going to place the bed is either going to have to go here right as soon as you walk in the front door, which isn't a great location, or it's going to have to be pushed into this corner between the structural column. And so if the bed is something like that, then there's all this wasted space in the bedroom, which doesn't make a lot of sense when the living room is so tight. There's a space allocation issue with that bedroom. And then I think this is kind of the weirdest part of the whole plan. We've got this very strange bathroom that has two doors, and I guess it's so guests can use it, and they can come into it without going into your bedroom. But what they've done is they put the bedroom closet actually inside the bathroom, which makes no sense. So if you're going to get dressed in the morning, you have to walk through the bathroom to get into the closet. And if guests come over to use the bathroom, they're going to basically be walking past your private clothes closet inside the bathroom. So it doesn't make a lot of sense the way this is laid out, and I think it could also be very easily fixed. So let's have a look and try to come up with some strategies for how we could possibly remediate this plan. And I'm going to start out by clearing everything out, and it's very interesting because as soon as we clear everything out, it all of a sudden looks way, 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 way better. It looks pretty amazing in terms of, in terms of the space layout. We have to deal with these structural columns, and probably one of the biggest challenges that we're going to have to deal with is the entry space is actually fairly big. You can see it's almost the same, well, it's bigger than the balcony, and it's probably about 2/3 the size of a bedroom. And so we're going to have to somehow make some structural use in terms of how we're going to lay this out in terms of making use of that entry. So I do want to just talk about a couple of strategies to start out with. And I think one of the strategies that we're going to have to deal with right off the bat is where are we going to put the kitchen? And I think that is one of the main things that we're going to have to deal with. So I'm going to just trace the kitchen because I'm going to just imagine that we're just going to use the kitchen as something the same size. So I'm just going to trace over it on the other plan and trace over the fridge, and then we've got the sink, and then we've got the cooktop. So we want to make sure that we put back a kitchen that's basically the same size as the one we had before. And then I'm going to turn on the base layer again so that we just make everything disappear. So this is the kitchen. We know it's not good in the entry. So where could we place the kitchen? We need to kind of think about it. Well, We can't really place it up here because the structural column in this little nubbin means that we're going to have wasted space. So that doesn't really work. I guess we could put it on this side. We could put it on the side of the bedroom wall. Let's just talk about that for a minute. If we did that, that would mean that we could have the bedroom basically where it was, and we could have the bathroom, and we might be able to have a closet, something like that. The problem with that is we now have a kind of a long hallway to get into the bedroom and the bathroom and the closet area, and possibly some wasted space. I mean, although we could put the mechanical, but we're creating this sort of long hallway condition, and we don't really want to do that. I don't think that is actually the best use of space in terms of the layout of the entire unit. So then that kind of leaves us to kind of back an idea where we can have the kitchen maybe in this location, kind of at the bottom of the plan. So I just want to think about this for a little bit. It's actually not kind of a bad idea. We could kind of lay the kitchen out along the bottom. We could then probably put the bathroom could more or less be where it was before. We could have the bathroom probably something like this. We could have another space here which could possibly be for laundry. It could be our mechanicals, because remember we have to find a place for that mechanical room. And then we could also probably just keep the bedroom more or less the same size, something like this, and we would basically be creating a shorter hallway to go into the bathroom. We go into the bedroom, into that mechanical space, and then what we're going to have is one big open space for the living room and the dining room. So that is actually pretty interesting. And do we have enough room to fit that kitchen with a walkthrough? Yes, we've got, if you can see here, we have about 4'6", and 4'6" is around 1.37 meters. So we do have enough room to kind of walk around to get into the space. Now we're going to have to come up with some sort of idea for the entry, how we could do that. But I think as a strategy, that actually works fairly well. So I'm going to just jump ahead a little bit because I've done a little bit of work in advance. As you guys always know, I always like to do a little bit of work in advance. And I've kind of laid out the walls in kind of a way that I think makes sense for this unit. So I've created the entry. I put a closet, the front coat closet, instead of colliding with the door at the back, I moved it up. And then you kind of walk around that to get into the rest of the unit. And I've got a kind of an area here where the kitchen would go. And then I've created a short hallway, so you go into the bedroom, and then you go into the bathroom. I've created a kind of linen or extra storage closet. And then this room, I think, will be laundry and mechanical. Now, some people were saying you don't really need a laundry room in an apartment this size, and that is true. However, remember, we do have to have room for that mechanical equipment, and that is really important. So when I fill everything in terms of some of the basic arrangement of some of the parts, the bathroom I kind of left exactly the way that it was before, with the vanity, the toilet, and the shower. It's no different than the original plan. I think it works well. I did create that sort of linen or extra closet in the hall because we didn't need to make this mechanical laundry room so big. When you come into the laundry, I've got the laundry, the up-down machine there. Remember, it was here, but I've moved it to here. I've got a little bit of counter space and probably some upper cabinets. And then I've got the mechanical equipment, which remember was facing into the kitchen. It can now sit in this room, which is perfect. And then coming into the bedroom, I just put the wardrobe closets here, which I think is a good location. It's not ideal with the door swing because the door does collide with the closet door, but I think in this condition, I think that would be acceptable. Now, it is interesting. I'm curious about how much closet space I have. So I have got 7 feet plus my additional closet, which is another 4 feet. So I have 9 feet of closet available. And in the original plan, if I just go back and just have a look at the original plan, let's just measure out how many lineal feet of closet I had. I had 6 feet plus I had 5 feet. So I had 11 feet. So I've gone from 11 to 9. So I have reduced the amount of clothes storage, which that is not super ideal. I think there might be a way of gaining some extra closet space back, but we'll have to just deal with the fact that we're reducing the closet space, the hanging space, by 2 feet. So that is a trade-off that we are making. But I didn't think that walk-in closet in the original design was all that great anyways. So now I want to just talk about the kitchen. And I want to just draw in the kitchen and just talk about some strategies in terms of how we could draw this in. I'm just going to change the layer. So I've got the kitchen sort of space laid out here. Now there's a couple of ideas and ways that we could kind of do it. I'm just going to do a quick sketch. One is that we could do it you know, as a sort of L-shaped kitchen like that. I guess that would be one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is, I guess what we could do is we could do kind of a reverse L, something like that, and maybe have, you know, a pantry or some other piece of millwork storage. We could do something like that. So I think there's kind of two strategies. Interestingly enough, I've developed both strategies, and at the end of the episode, you guys are going to vote on which one you think is better. But let's work on the inside L. Let's work on that as an idea in terms of a drawing. So the first thing that I think we need to decide on is where are we going to put the fridge, and I think there's kind of two options. Remember the fridge. Let's just draw the fridge in. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace it. I'm going to trace it on this other layer, and then that way it'll be very easy. Yeah, this actually works really, really well, because what I can do is I can just trace the fridge, and then I can just transfer it over. I love doing this because when you trace it, you can then just move it on the sheet as opposed to having to draw it from scratch. So then I'm going to make sure that I've got the exact same appliance size. So I have traced that, and I'm just going to put back on the layer that is the whiteout layer, and now I'm going to move the fridge. So we can talk about where should we put the fridge. Well, this is option one, right? We could put it here. That makes sense, and then that would mean we would have the rest of the kitchen along here. This is option two. And we could put it there, and then we could have a long sort of kitchen here. Which do you think is better? So I'm just going to play the devil's advocate, and I'm going to start out with this option two, and I'm just going to sketch in what the counters and everything would look like with option two. Oops, I'm just gonna draw it up a little bit. So there is option two, fridge, counter. So that is one idea. Then we would probably have to have, you know, the cooktop would have to go in one area, and then the sink would probably have to go in another, and the dishwasher. So that is one option. I think that would probably work fairly well. Let's just erase that, and we'll just look at option two, and then we're going to just discuss about which would be better. So option two is we have the fridge in this corner, and then what we're going to do obviously is we're going to have the counter come something like this, and then come up and join that wing wall, and we have a big L something like this. This is option two, and we would probably then have the cooktop would be something like that, and then we would have the sink, I imagine, and the dishwasher would be on this face. This is option two. So I think option two is a better idea, and the reason is I think we have more continuous counter space. I like the position of the cooktop here better than having the fridge, because the L section of the counter is reduced when the fridge is on the top, because the fridge takes up almost all of that room. So I really like having the fridge in this corner, because you kind of come around the fridge to get into the rest of the kitchen, and the kitchen is kind of tucked out of the way. And I like also the position of where the cook would be. You're going to be standing here cooking at the stove that way, as opposed to facing into the back wall, because you can still have a view out when you're cooking from that position. So I'm going to opt for the kitchen design like the way that I've drawn here. And what I'm going to just do is I'm just going to turn on that layer so that everybody can see this idea with the kitchen drawn in. Interestingly enough, I have dotted in now where the dishwasher would be. I've also showing where the upper cabinets will be. I've got a really nice entry closet, and I have added in 18-inch deep storage, which is about, yeah, a foot and a half, which is 0.45 meters in terms of depth, so a little deeper than upper cabinet storage. Not quite full counter depth or full closet depth, but that's sort of going to be pantry storage for the kitchen, and then extra storage that you can have in the entry. And I think that's actually really functional storage, and I like the way that it just tucks in against that big concrete column. We have a really huge entry space, maybe more than what we need, but for the size of the unit, I think that's okay. And you have to remember, we can't control the size of the entry because that was dictated to us by the rest of the building.